Grief doesn't arrive like a storm. It doesn't crash through the door and tear everything apart in one violent moment. It lingers. It seeps into the walls, into the floors, into the air you breathe when you wake up and realize again that nothing is the same, that it will never be the same. A year after my wife died, the house still belonged to her more than it did to me. I never touched her side of the closet. Her dresses hung exactly where she left them, spaced the way she liked. Light colors to the left, darker ones to the right. Even now, sometimes I would open the door and just stand there, staring at fabric that would never move again. The bathroom was worse. Her shampoo sat untouched in the corner of the shower. Same bottle, same level. I knew exactly how much was left because I had stared at it too many times to count. I never used it, never moved it. It wasn't mine. Nothing in that house felt like mine anymore. Not even my own life. I stopped inviting people over, stopped answering calls unless I had to. The world outside kept moving, but inside those walls, time folded in on itself. Every day felt like a repetition of the last. Wake up, sit in silence, remember, repeat. I thought grief was about missing someone. I was wrong. Grief is about realizing how much of yourself disappeared with them. And I had lost more than just a wife. I had lost the only person who ever stood between me and Emily, my daughter, or at least, the person I still forced myself to call that. Because the truth is, by the time my wife died, Emily had already started slipping away. It wasn't sudden. It never is. It starts small. A missed call, a delayed reply, a conversation that feels shorter than it used to, then shorter again, then forced, then gone. First, I told myself she was busy. New York does that to people. It eats their time, their attention, their priorities. I understood that. I had paid for that life, paid for her apartment, her education, her endless opportunities. I built the version of her that no longer had room for me. That realization came slowly, painfully, like a nail being pushed in 1 millimeter at a time. I remember the exact moment I understood something had changed. Her wedding, New York, expensive, loud, perfectly curated. I paid for all of it. Every glass, every chair, every flower flown in from somewhere I couldn't even pronounce. I didn't ask questions. I didn't set limits. I didn't hesitate, because that's what fathers do. They show up. They provide. They stand in the background so their children can shine. That's what I believed. That's what I told myself. Until a week before the wedding, when Emily sat across from me in a restaurant I couldn't afford without thinking twice, wearing a dress that cost more than my first truck. She didn't look nervous, didn't look emotional. She looked strategic. "I've been thinking," she said, stirring her drink without looking at me. "About the ceremony." I smiled, thought she was going to ask me something normal, something simple, walk her down the aisle, give a speech, be a father. Instead, she said it. Soft, casual, careful. "You wouldn't really fit in with everyone." Fit? I didn't understand at first. Fit? I asked. She finally looked at me then, and there was something in her eyes I had never seen before. Not anger, not sadness, something colder. "Dad, the people there, they're different. It's just a different environment." Different. That word landed harder than anything else, because I knew what she meant. I was construction. I was Texas. I was rough hands and long hours and a life built on sweat instead of connections. I was not what she had become, or at least what she wanted people to believe she had always been. I should have said something, should have stood up, walked away, refused to pay for a wedding I wasn't even welcome in. But I didn't. I nodded, smiled, told her I understood, because somewhere deep inside me, I still believed this was temporary. That one day she would look back and realize what mattered. That one day she would remember who I was. So I paid for everything. And on the day of the wedding, I stood in the back. Not beside her. Not in front. In the back. Like a stranger who somehow wandered into the wrong life. She didn't look at me once. Not during the ceremony. Not during the reception. Not even when people asked who I was. I heard it more than once. Oh, that's just someone from her past. Someone. That's what I became. After everything. After years of work. Of sacrifice. Of building a life from nothing so she could have everything. I became someone. Still, I kept sending money. Every month. Without fail. Because if I stopped, then what was left? If I wasn't her father, then what was I? That question followed me for a year. Until the package arrived. No return address. No warning. Just a box sitting on my doorstep like it had been waiting for me all along. I knew something was wrong the second I picked it up. Too light. Too deliberate. Like it wasn't meant to surprise me. It was meant to find me. Inside was her wedding ring. My wife's. Cold. Familiar. Wrong. And beneath it, a note. Short enough to read in a second. Heavy enough to change everything. You need to tell them the truth. Starting with her. I didn't sit down. Didn't question it. Because I already knew. Her meant Emily. Could only mean Emily. And the moment I realized that, everything I had ignored came rushing back. The distance. The lies. The way she looked at me like I didn't belong in her world anymore. This wasn't just about shame. This wasn't just about image. This was something else. Something hidden. Something my wife had known. And taken to her grave. My hand tightened around the ring until it hurt. Good. Pain meant something was still real. For the first time in a year, the fog lifted. Not completely, but enough. Enough to see that grief had blinded me. That while I was mourning, something else had been growing in the dark. Something I should have stopped. Something I had ignored. I looked down at the note again. Simple. Direct. Final. And I understood what it really was. Not a message. A demand. My wife wasn't asking me to remember. She was forcing me to act. And for the first time since she died, I felt something stronger than grief. Not sadness. Not regret. Something colder. Something sharper. Resolve. I closed my hand around the ring and whispered the truth out loud. For the first time. Not as a father, but as a man who had been used. I'm done sending money. The words didn't echo. They settled. Like everything else in that house. Heavy. Permanent. Final. And in that moment, I knew this wasn't just about reconnecting with my daughter. This was about exposing her. About tearing down whatever life she had built on top of my name. Because whatever truth my wife wanted revealed, it was big enough to send her ring back from the grave. And that meant one thing. I hadn't lost my daughter. Not completely. Not yet. But if I didn't act now, I would. For good. And maybe I already had. So I ask you, if the only way to save your child is to destroy the life they built, would you do it? The decision didn't feel dramatic. There was no anger. No shouting. No breaking point that exploded into action. Just clarity. Cold. Clean. Unavoidable. The kind that comes when you finally stop lying to yourself. The morning after the package arrived, I didn't rush. I didn't call Emily. I didn't confront anyone. That's what I would have done before. Reacted, tried to fix things, tried to understand without first seeing the full picture. Not this time. This time, I sat at the same kitchen table where my wife used to drink her coffee, where she used to watch me leave for work before sunrise, where she used to ask questions I brushed off because I thought I had everything under control. I didn't have anything under control, and she knew it. That note, it wasn't just a warning. It was proof. Proof that whatever was happening with Emily had gone far enough that silence was no longer an option. I opened my laptop. Slowly. Deliberately. For years, my financial life had been simple. Earn, send, repeat. I never tracked Emily's expenses beyond what was necessary. I didn't question transfers. Didn't audit requests. If she needed something, I provided it. That was the arrangement. Or at least, that's what I thought it was. But now, for the first time, I looked. Really looked. Statements. Transfers. Recurring payments. One by one, I pulled them up, scrolling through months. Then years. First, nothing seemed unusual. Rent. Utilities. Lifestyle expenses I had learned not to question. Then I started noticing patterns. Amounts that didn't match what she told me. Transfers labeled vaguely. Repeated payments to accounts I didn't recognize. Small things. But small things add up, especially when they repeat. I leaned back in the chair, staring at the screen, and felt something shift inside me. Not doubt. Certainty. I had been funding more than just my daughter's life. Much more. I picked up my phone and called my lawyer. I hadn't spoken to him since my wife's funeral. Back then, it was paperwork, estate details, formalities. Now it was something else. "David," I said when he answered, "I need a full review of every financial obligation tied to my name. Everything. Accounts, transfers, authorizations. I want it all on paper." He didn't ask why. That's why I kept him around. "Give me a few hours," he said. I hung up and looked back at the screen. Then I started shutting things down. Not all at once. One by one. Deliberate. Controlled. The first was the automatic monthly transfer. The one she depended on without thinking. Cancelled. No hesitation. No warning. The system asked me to confirm. I clicked yes. The second was a secondary account I had opened years ago. Something she could access in case of emergencies. There were no emergencies. There had never been emergencies. Only convenience. Closed. The third took longer. It was tied to multiple outgoing payments, subscriptions, services, things I didn't fully recognize. I didn't ask questions. I terminated access. All of it. When I finished, I sat there for a long time. Waiting. For guilt. For hesitation. For that familiar instinct to reverse everything and pretend none of this had happened. Nothing came. Only silence. The same silence that had filled my house for a year. Only now it felt different. Lighter. Cleaner. Like I had finally stopped bleeding without realizing I was wounded. Then David called back. His voice was different. Tighter. "There are irregularities," he said. I didn't respond. I let him continue. Multiple third-party connections. Business-related transfers. Some accounts linked indirectly through Emily's financial activity. I'll need more time to trace everything, but this isn't standard. Business. That word didn't belong anywhere near my daughter. "What kind of business?" I asked. A pause. "That's what concerns me," he said. "There's no clear structure. No registered entities tied directly to her name. But money is moving like there should be." I closed my eyes. There it was. The first crack in the truth. "Keep digging," I said. "I want everything." When the call ended, I didn't move. Didn't think. Because now I didn't have to. I already knew. This wasn't about Emily struggling. This wasn't about her building a life. This was something constructed. Carefully. Deliberately. And I had been funding it. For years. My phone buzzed. Her name. Emily. Of course. The timing almost made me laugh. I let it ring once. Twice. 3 times. Then I answered. "What happened?" she asked immediately. No greeting. No hesitation. Straight to the point. Of course. "I'm not sure what you mean," I said. A pause. Then sharper. "The transfer didn't come through." Not "Are you okay?" Not "How are you?" The transfer. That was her concern. I looked at my reflection in the dark screen of the laptop. I didn't recognize the man staring back. "Good. Yeah," I said calmly. "That's not happening anymore." Silence. Then, "What?" Not confusion. Not worry. Shock. Because for the first time in her life, something she depended on stopped. "I'm reviewing things," I continued. "All financial support is paused." Her tone changed instantly. Defensive. Controlled. Calculating. "You can't just do that. I have commitments." Commitments. I almost asked what kind. But I didn't. Not yet. "Then you should have thought about that before building a life that depends on me," I said. Another pause. Longer this time. Then she said something that confirmed everything. "I'll fix it," she said quickly. "Just send it for now. I'll explain later." Fix it. Not explain. Fix. Like this was a problem she needed time to cover. Not a truth she wanted to share. That was the moment. The exact moment something inside me broke clean in half. Not from pain. From understanding. You already had your chance to explain, I said quietly. Her voice hardened. You're overreacting. No, I wasn't. I'm done sending money, I said. Flat. Final. And for the first time, I meant it. The line went silent. No argument. No pleading. Just silence. Then the call ended. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Because I knew what came next. Not regret. Not reconciliation. Escalation. Whatever Emily was involved in, it wasn't something she could walk away from easily. And by cutting the money, I hadn't just inconvenienced her. I had disrupted something bigger. Something hidden. Something my wife had tried to expose before she died. I looked down at the ring again, still sitting on the table. Cold. Unforgiving. And I finally understood what that note really meant. You need to tell them the truth. Not ask. Not investigate. Tell. Which meant one thing. The truth was already known. Just buried. And now, it was my job to dig it up. No matter what it destroyed. So tell me, if you discovered your child wasn't just using you, but building something dangerous on your name, would you still protect them? Or would you finally stop being their father and become the man who ends it? Once you stop pretending, everything starts making sense. Too fast. Too clean. Too late. David didn't take long. By the next day, my inbox was full. Documents. Statements. Cross-referenced accounts. A web of transactions that didn't belong to the life Emily had described to me. I printed everything. Stacked it on the table. Page after page. Numbers don't lie. People do. And what I was looking at wasn't a mistake. It was a system. Money moved through my accounts like water through pipes, but it didn't stay with her. It split, redirected, disappeared into names I didn't recognize and entities that technically didn't exist. No registered businesses, no legal structure, but steady flow, consistent, intentional. This wasn't carelessness. This was design. I ran my hand over the pages and felt something settle inside me. Not anger, not even betrayal. Recognition, because I had seen this before. Not in my family. On job sites, men cutting corners, fake invoices, shell crews that didn't exist but somehow got paid. Layers built to hide something simple underneath. Money being pulled without leaving fingerprints. And suddenly Emily's world made sense. The expensive lifestyle, the vague explanations, the polished image with no foundation behind it. It wasn't success. It was projection. And I had been financing it. My phone buzzed again. Not Emily this time. Unknown number. I answered. A man's voice. Smooth. Controlled. Careful. Mr. Carter? I didn't respond right away. Yes. A pause. I believe we need to discuss a financial misunderstanding. There it was. Not concern. Not confusion. Control. What kind of misunderstanding? I asked. Another pause. Slightly longer. Like he was choosing his words. There have been disruptions in expected transfers. It's creating complications. Complications. I almost smiled. Sounds like your problem, I said. His tone shifted. Just a little. You're connected to this, Mr. Carter. It would be better for everyone if things continued as they were. There it was. Not a request. A warning. I leaned back in the chair, staring at the papers in front of me. No, I said quietly. It wouldn't. Silence. Then, you may not fully understand the situation. He was right. I didn't. Not yet. But I knew enough. I understand that my money isn't going where I was told it was going, I said. That's enough. Another pause. Longer this time. He exhaled slowly. You should speak to your daughter. Click. The line went dead. I sat there for a while, phone still in my hand. No panic. No fear. Just confirmation. This was bigger than Emily. And she wasn't just caught in it. She was part of it. I looked back at the note. You need to tell them the truth. Starting with her. Not warn. Not protect. Tell. That meant confrontation. Direct. Unavoidable. I didn't call her. Didn't text. Didn't give her time to prepare. I booked a flight. New York. That same city where I didn't fit. That same place where she erased me. This time, I wasn't going to stand in the back. The apartment building was exactly what I expected. Glass, steel, polished surfaces that reflected a life built for appearances. I walked in without hesitation. The concierge tried to stop me. I didn't slow down. "I'm her father," I said. That word still worked. Doors opened. Elevator climbed. Each floor, quieter than the last. By the time I reached her door, everything felt still. Too still. I knocked once. No answer. Twice. Footsteps. Then the door opened. Emily stood there, perfect as always, controlled, composed. But her eyes gave her away. Not surprise. Not relief. Fear. "Dad?" she said slowly, like she didn't know what version of me was standing in front of her. "Good. Let me in," I said. She hesitated, just for a second, then stepped aside. The apartment was exactly like her wedding. Beautiful. Expensive. Empty. I walked in, taking it all in without reacting. "You should have called," she said behind me. I turned. "No," I said. "You should have told me the truth." Silence. She didn't deny it. Didn't ask what I meant. Because she knew. "I don't know what you think." I dropped the folder on the table. Papers spilling out. Evidence. Not accusations. Proof. Her voice stopped. Her eyes moved across the pages. Recognition hit instantly. Then panic. Small. Controlled. But real. "You went through my accounts?" she asked. Not "this isn't true." Not "you're wrong." That was enough. "I went through mine," I said. "You just happened to be using them." She looked up at me, and for the first time, the mask cracked. "You don't understand how things work here," she said quickly. "This is normal. Everyone does this." Everyone. That word again. Same justification. Different lie. "No," I said. "Everyone doesn't steal from their own father." Her jaw tightened. "I didn't steal anything. You gave it." There it was. The truth. Cold. Clean. Unapologetic. I stepped closer. "And you built something on top of it," I said. "Something you can't explain." She didn't answer. Because she couldn't. Because whatever she was part of was already collapsing. I could see it. In her posture. In her breathing. In the way her eyes kept drifting to her phone. Waiting. For someone. Or something. "You told people I was dead," I said. That hit. Hard. Her head snapped up. Silence. Then, "Who told you that?" I didn't answer. Because it didn't matter. What mattered was, she didn't deny it. And in that moment, everything ended. Not loudly. Not violently. Quietly. Like a structure finally giving in under its own weight. "I'm shutting everything down," I said. Her face drained. "You can't," she said immediately. "You don't understand what happens if you do that." I looked at her. Really looked at her. Not as my daughter. As a stranger. "What happens?" I asked. She didn't answer. Because now, she was afraid. Not of me. Of everything else. "Good. Your fiancé," I said. "His family. The business you're part of." Her breathing changed. "They're not who you think they are." Silence. Then a whisper. "You don't know anything." I leaned in slightly. "I know enough," I said. "And I'm done funding it." That was it. That was the moment her world cracked. Not because of anger. Because of reality. Without my money, everything she built collapsed. Her voice dropped, barely holding together. "You're going to ruin everything." I straightened. "No," I said. "You already did that." And I turned to leave. Behind me, I heard something break. Glass. Or maybe just the illusion finally shattering. I didn't look back. Because I knew this wasn't the end. This was the fall. And falls don't stop halfway. They hit bottom. Hard. So tell me, when the truth destroys your child's entire world, did you save them, or did you finish what they started? Destruction is loud at first. Then it goes quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that comes after everything collapses. And there's nothing left to hold up the noise. I didn't stay in New York. I didn't wait for explanations. Didn't wait for apologies. Didn't wait for her to chase me down the hallway or call my name like she used to when she was a child and still believed I could fix things. That version of her was gone. And the one standing in that apartment wasn't someone I could reach anymore. Not then. Not like that. I went back home. Back to the same house. The same silence. The same weight pressing into the walls. But it felt different now. Not lighter. Not better. Just honest. Because for the first time, I wasn't lying to myself about what my life had become. I didn't check my phone on the flight. Didn't check it when I landed. Didn't check it when I walked through the door and saw my wife's shampoo still sitting exactly where I left it. Some things don't change. Others collapse all at once. Took 2 days. That's all it took. On the third morning, the calls started. Not from Emily. From numbers I didn't recognize. I didn't answer the first few. Then I did. Different voices. Same tone. Polite. Careful. Controlled. Every single one of them circling the same thing without saying it directly. Money. Outstanding obligations. Pending arrangements. Temporary disruptions. They all spoke like contracts existed. Like I owed something. Like I was part of something. I let them talk. Then I said the same thing every time. I'm not sending anything. Click. By the end of the day, the tone changed. Less polite. More direct. One man didn't even try to hide it. You're creating problems you don't understand. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. I understand enough, I said. A pause. Then, this doesn't just affect her. There it was. The pressure. Not on me. On her. I almost asked what that meant. Almost. But I didn't. Because I already knew. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about consequences. Real ones. And for the first time, Emily was going to face them without me standing in front of her. That night, she finally called. I looked at her name on the screen for a long time. Longer than I should have. Then I answered. She didn't speak right away. Neither did I. Silence stretched between us like something broken that neither of us knew how to fix. Then, they're gone. Her voice. Different. No control. No polish. Just stripped. Who? I asked. A breath. Then, everyone. I didn't say anything. I let her fill the silence. My fiancé, she said. His family. The people I worked with. The investors. Investors. That word almost made me laugh. They disappeared, she continued. Phones off. Offices empty. Everything gone. Of course they were. That's how it works. Structures built on nothing don't collapse slowly. They vanish. And leave everyone underneath them exposed. You knew, she said suddenly. Not a question. An accusation. I knew enough, I said. Her voice cracked. You destroyed it. No, I didn't. But I let her believe that. Because it was easier than explaining the truth. You built it, I said. I just stopped holding it up. Silence. Then I heard it. Not crying. Not yet. Something worse. Breathing. Uneven. Shallow. Like she was finally feeling the full weight of something she had been avoiding for years. I don't have anything, she said quietly. There it was. The truth. No image. No status. No protection. Just reality. For the first time in her life. I closed my eyes. And for a second, just 1 second, I almost gave in. Almost told her I would fix it. Almost opened the laptop, reversed everything, sent the money, rebuilt the illusion just to hear her sound stable again. But I didn't, because that's how it started. That's how it always starts. I know, I said. She let out a broken breath. What am I supposed to do? She whispered. And that question told me everything. Not because she was asking for help. Because for the first time, she didn't have a system to lean on. No one to call. No one to manipulate. No one to fund the next step. Just herself. And she didn't know what to do with that. Start over, I said. Silence. Then, I can't. I opened my eyes and stared at the ceiling again. Yes, I said. You can. Another pause. Longer. Heavier. Then she said something I didn't expect. Something I hadn't heard in years. I lied, she said. Simple. Small. But real. I didn't respond. I let her keep going. I told people you were dead, she said. It was easier. No one could question anything. No one could check. Each word landed like a confession she had been holding in too long. I used your name, she continued. Your reputation. I made it sound like I came from something bigger than I did. Bigger. I almost smiled. Because she did come from something bigger. She just didn't understand what it was. And now, I asked. Her voice broke. Now I don't have anything left to pretend with. There it was. No anger. No blame. Just emptiness. Real. Unavoidable. And for the first time since this started, I heard my daughter. Not the version she built. Not the image she sold. Her. Stripped of everything. I sat up slowly. The house around me felt different again. Not lighter, but less false. You still have something, I said. A pause. What? I took a breath. You have the chance to live without lying. Silence. Then, that's not much. No, it isn't. Not at first. But it's real. And real things take time. I'm not sending money, I said. Flat. Clear. Final. I know, she whispered. And this time, she didn't argue, didn't push, didn't try to manipulate, because now she understood. This wasn't punishment. This was consequence. We didn't fix anything that night. There was no reconciliation. No emotional moment where everything suddenly made sense and we found our way back to each other. That's not how it works. Not after this. Not after years of lies. But something shifted. Small. Fragile. Real. Weeks passed. Then months. I heard things. Not from her. From others. She got a job. Nothing impressive. Nothing she could brag about. Just work. She moved out of that apartment. Rented something small. Cheap. Real. No more illusions. No more borrowed status. No more lies. And slowly, very slowly, she started building something again. Not on my money. Not on someone else's scheme. On her own. We didn't talk often. Sometimes just a message. Short. Careful. Like two people learning how to speak again after forgetting the language. But every time we did, felt different. Not warm. Not easy. But honest. And honesty is heavier than love. Because you can't fake it. I still sit in this house. Still see my wife's things exactly where she left them. Still hear the silence. But now, I understand something I didn't before. Sometimes the truth doesn't fix anything. Sometimes it destroys everything. And that's the point. Because you can't build something real on something false. So I ask you, if tearing down your child's life is the only way to save who they really are, would you have the strength to do it? Or would you keep pretending until there's nothing left to save?